The rain came down like bullets against the windshield of Maya's small blue car. She gripped the steering wheel tighter, her knuckles white as she tried to see through the storm. The highway stretched endlessly ahead of her, dark and empty except for the occasional flash of lightning that lit up the Texas landscape. Maya had never seen rain like this before. In her 28 years living in Chicago, she thought she knew what bad weather looked like. But this was different. This was wild and angry, like nature itself was trying to tell her to turn around and go home. Maybe I should have listened, she whispered to herself, glancing at the GPS on her phone. The screen showed she still had 40 miles to go before reaching the small town of Cedar Creek, where her grandmother's old ranch waited for her. Grandmother Rose had passed away 3 months ago, leaving Maya a property she had never seen. Maya's mother had cut ties with her own mother years before Maya was born, so Maya grew up never knowing she had family in Texas. The lawyer's call had been a complete shock. Now, driving through this storm to see the ranch for the first time, Maya wondered if she should have just signed the papers to sell it without making this trip. She was a financial analyst with a good job in the city. What did she know about ranches and country life? A loud bang made her jump. The car started making a terrible grinding noise and thick white smoke began pouring from under the hood. Maya's heart sank as she felt the car losing power. No, 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 she said, pressing the gas pedal harder. But it was no use. The car was dying. She managed to pull over to the side of the road just as the engine gave one final wheeze and died completely. Maya sat there for a moment, listening to the rain pound on the roof of her car. She was in the middle of nowhere, with no cell, phone signal, and night was falling fast. Taking a deep breath, she grabbed her jacket from the back seat and stepped out into the storm. The rain soaked through her clothes immediately and the wind nearly knocked her over. She fumbled with the hood of the car, trying to see what was wrong, but all she could see was smoke and twisted metal. I should have taken that mechanics class in college, she muttered, water dripping from her hair. That's when she saw the headlights coming down the road. Maya's first instinct was fear. She was a woman alone on a dark highway. But as the truck got closer, she could see it was an old pickup truck, the kind farmers used. When it stopped behind her car, a tall man got out. Even in the rain and darkness, Maya could see he was wearing a cowboy hat and boots. He walked toward her with a confident stride, like the storm didn't bother him at all. "Looks like you're having some trouble," he called out over the sound of the rain. His voice was deep and calm, with a slight accent that told Maya he was definitely from around here. "My car just died," Maya shouted back, trying to make herself heard over the storm. "I don't know what happened." The cowboy came closer, and Maya could see his face better. He looked to be in his early 30s with kind brown eyes and a face that had seen plenty of sun and honest work. There was something steady about him that made Maya feel a little less scared. "I'm Cole Rodriguez," he said, touching the brim of his hat politely. "I own the ranch about 5 miles up the road. This old car's not going anywhere tonight, especially not in this weather." "I'm Maya Chen," she replied, then added quickly, "I was trying to get to Cedar Creek." Cole nodded. "That's still a long way from here, and this storm's just getting started. Why don't you come with me? I can give you a warm place to stay tonight and we'll figure out your car situation in the morning." Maya hesitated. Every safety rule she had learned living in the city told her not to go with a stranger. But standing there in the pouring rain, with nowhere else to go, she realized she didn't have many choices. "I don't want to be any trouble," she said. Cole smiled, and it was the kind of smile that reached his eyes. "No trouble at all. Can't leave a person stranded out here. Grab whatever you need from your car." Maya quickly gathered her purse and overnight bag from the car. Cole helped her into his truck, which was warm and dry inside. The radio was playing country music softly, and the truck smelled like leather and something clean and outdoorsy as air. They drove through the storm. Cole kept up a gentle conversation that helped Maya relax. He told her about his ranch where he raised horses and cattle. He had grown up in the area and took over the family business when his father retired to Florida 5 years ago. "What brings you to Cedar Creek?" Cole asked as they turned onto a gravel road. "I inherited my grandmother's ranch," Maya explained. "Rose Chen. Did you know her?" Cole's eyebrows went up in surprise. "Rose Chen was your grandmother?" "I sure did know her. She was a wonderful lady. Always brought me fresh cookies and checked on me when I was getting started with the ranch. I'm real sorry for your loss. Maya felt a strange mix of sadness and curiosity. I never met her. My mother and she had some kind of falling out before I was born. That's a shame, Cole said quietly. Rose talked about her daughter sometimes. I think she always hoped they would work things out. They pulled up to a house that looked warm and welcoming despite the storm. It was a single-story ranch house with a wide front porch and golden light glowing from the windows. Cole parked close to the front door and helped Maya run through the rain. Inside, the house was everything Maya had imagined a ranch house would be. The living room had comfortable furniture, a stone fireplace with a fire already burning, and walls decorated with photographs of horses and landscapes. It felt like a real home, so different from her modern apartment in Chicago. You must be freezing, Cole said, hanging up his wet hat and jacket. Let me get you some dry clothes and something hot to drink. He disappeared down a hallway and came back with a soft flannel shirt and sweatpants. These might be a little big, but they're dry. You can change in the guest room and I'll make some coffee. The guest room was simple but cozy, with a quilt-covered bed and a window that looked out over what Maya guessed were pastures. Though she couldn't see much in the darkness, she changed into Cole's clothes, which were indeed too big but wonderfully warm and soft. When she came back to the living room, Cole had coffee ready and was stirring something that smelled amazing on the stove. I hope you like chili, he said. I made a big pot yesterday and it's perfect for a night like this. Maya realized she was hungrier than she had thought. She hadn't eaten since breakfast, too nervous about the trip to stop for lunch. That sounds wonderful. They sat at Cole's kitchen table, eating chili and cornbread while the storm raged outside. Maya found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in months. Cole was easy to talk to, asking questions about her life in Chicago and listening with genuine interest. So you work with numbers all day? He asked when she told him about her job as a financial analyst. Pretty much. I help companies figure out their investments and budgets. It's not very exciting, but it pays well and I'm good at it. I bet you are, Cole said. Takes a smart person to handle all those numbers. Me, I'm better with animals than math. As the evening went on, Maya found herself sharing more than she usually did with someone she had just met. Maybe it was the warm food and comfortable house, or maybe it was something about Cole himself that made her feel safe. I have to admit, she said as Cole refilled her coffee cup, I've never stayed in someone's house before. I mean, someone I just met. Cole looked surprised. Really? Not even when you were traveling? Maya shook her head. I always stay in hotels. I guess I like having my own space. I've lived alone since college and I'm used to it. Nothing wrong with being independent, Cole said. But sometimes it's nice to have company, especially on a night like this. As if to prove his point, a huge crack of thunder shook the house and the lights flickered. Maya jumped a little and Cole got up to check the windows. This storm's really something, he said. Good thing you're not out in it anymore. Maya looked around the warm, safe house and felt grateful. Thank you for helping me. Most people probably would have just driven by. Not around here, Cole said, settling back into his chair. We look out for each other in the country. Besides, Rose's granddaughter is practically family. The mention of her grandmother made Maya curious again. What was she like? My grandmother. Cole's face softened. She was tough but kind. Always had a smile and a good word for everyone. She loved that ranch of hers. Worked it almost until the day she died. She was proud, independent, like someone else I just met. Maya felt a strange connection to this grandmother she had never known. I wish I could have met her. She would have liked you, Cole said with certainty. She always said family was the most important thing, even when family was complicated. As the evening grew later, Maya found herself yawning. The stress of the trip, the broken car, and the warm food were catching up with her. You look tired, Cole observed. Let me show you where everything is. He led her back to the guest room and pointed out the bathroom down the hall. There are fresh towels if you want a shower, and I put some extra blankets on the bed in case you get cold. If you need anything during the night, just holler. Maya stood in the doorway of the guest room, feeling suddenly awkward. I really appreciate this. I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't come along. Maya woke up to the smell of bacon and coffee drifting through the house. For a moment, she forgot where she was. The bed was softer than her own, and sunlight was streaming through windows that faced a different direction than her apartment. In Chicago. Then she remembered. The storm, the broken car, and Cole, the cowboy who had rescued her from the highway. She sat up and looked out the window, amazed by what she saw. The storm had passed, leaving behind a clear blue sky and rolling green hills that stretched as far as she could see. In the distance, she could see horses grazing in a pasture, and closer to the house there was a red barn that looked like something from a postcard. Maya had lived in the city her whole life. The most nature she usually saw was the small park near her apartment building. This view took her breath away. She got dressed quickly and followed the smell of breakfast to the kitchen, where she found Cole standing at the stove, already dressed for the day in jeans and a work shirt. His hair was still damp from a shower, and he looked like he had been up for hours. "Good morning," he said, turning to smile at her. "Hope you slept well. I thought you might be hungry." The kitchen table was set for two, with plates of eggs, bacon, and toast waiting. There was also a bowl of fresh fruit and a pot of coffee that smelled better than anything Maya usually made for herself. "This is too much," Maya said, sitting down. "You don't have to cook for me." "No trouble," Cole replied, joining her at the table. "I always make too much food anyway. Besides, you'll need a good breakfast before we deal with your car situation." They ate. Cole explained what he had found when he went to check on her car that morning. "The engine's pretty badly damaged," he said gently. "Looks like it overheated and then some other things went wrong. It's going to need major repairs." Maya's heart sank. "How major?" "Well, Pete Morrison runs the only garage in town and he's good at what he does. But it might take a few days to get the parts, maybe longer. This isn't exactly a big city where they keep everything in stock." Maya thought about her job, her apartment, her carefully planned life back in Chicago. She had only planned to be gone for 2 days, just long enough to see the ranch and sign the papers to sell it. "I guess I'll have to find a hotel in town," she said, trying to figure out how this would affect her schedule. Cole shook his head. "Cedar Creek doesn't have a hotel. There's a bed and breakfast, but Mrs. Patterson is visiting her daughter in Dallas this week. The next closest place to stay is about an hour away." Maya felt a moment of panic. She was stranded in the middle of nowhere with no way to get home and no place to stay. Cole must have seen the worry on her face because he quickly added, "But you're welcome to stay here until your car is fixed. I've got plenty of room and it's no trouble at all." "I couldn't impose on you like that," Maya said automatically. The idea of staying with a stranger for several days made her nervous. "It's not imposing," Cole said firmly. "Besides, this gives you a chance to actually see your grandmother's ranch instead of just signing papers. Rose would have wanted that." After breakfast, Cole offered to drive Maya to see the property she had inherited. As they drove through the countryside, he pointed out different ranches and told her stories about the families who lived there. Maya was surprised by how much she enjoyed listening to him talk about the community and the land. "There it is," Cole said, turning onto a dirt road with a mailbox that read, "Rose Chen, Sunset Ranch." Maya's first sight of her grandmother's property took her breath away. The house was a small, charming farmhouse painted white with blue shutters. It sat on a hill overlooking a valley filled with wildflowers. There were several outbuildings, including a barn and what looked like a stable. "It's beautiful," Maya whispered, hardly believing this place belonged to her. Cole parked near the house and they got out to explore. The house was locked, but Cole knew where Rose kept a spare key. "She always said if anyone needed shelter, they should be able to find it," he explained. Inside, the house was like stepping back in time. The furniture was old but well maintained, and every room was filled with personal touches that spoke of a life well lived. There were photographs on every surface, books on shelves, and quilts that looked handmade. Maya picked up a framed photo from the mantelpiece. It showed a young Asian woman holding a baby, both of them smiling at the camera. "That's your grandmother, with your mother," Cole said quietly, coming to stand beside her. "Rose showed me that picture once. She was so proud of that little girl." Maya stared at the photo. trying to imagine what had gone wrong between her mother and grandmother that they never spoke again. Her mother had always refused to talk about her family, saying only that some people were better left in the past. They spent the morning exploring the house and property. Maya was amazed by how much there was to see. The barn was filled with old farm equipment and the stable had stalls for horses, though they were empty now. There was a vegetable garden that had grown wild but still showed signs of careful planning. "Your grandmother kept horses until about 2 years ago," Cole explained as they walked through the stable. "She finally decided she was getting too old to handle them safely, so she sold them to me. I think she missed them, though." "She lived here all by herself?" Maya asked, trying to imagine what that must have been like. "Most of the time, yes, but she wasn't really alone. She had friends in town, and neighbors like me checked on her regularly. She was part of the community." Maya thought about her own life in Chicago, where she barely knew her neighbors and often went days without having a real conversation with anyone except for work meetings. As they walked back toward the house, Cole pointed out different features of the land. "She's got good water sources, fertile soil, and excellent grazing areas. This is a valuable piece of property." "I suppose that's why the lawyer thinks I should sell it," Maya said. "I wouldn't know the first thing about running a ranch." Cole stopped walking and looked at her seriously. "Is that what you want to do? Sell it?" Maya realized she hadn't really thought about it beyond the practical considerations. "I live in Chicago. I have a job, an apartment, a whole life there. What would I do with a ranch in Texas?" "I don't know," Cole said. "But maybe that's something to figure out, not something to decide in a hurry." They spent the afternoon going through the house more carefully. Maya found letters and documents that told the story of her grandmother's life. Rose had come to Texas as a young bride, worked the ranch with her husband until he died, and then continued alone for 20 more years. In a desk drawer, Maya found a bundle of letters addressed to her mother that had been returned unopened. Her heart ached as she realized her grandmother had tried to reach out over the years but had been rejected every time. "She never stopped hoping," Cole said when Maya showed him the letters. Rose always believed family could find their way back to each other. That evening, back at Cole's house, Maya called her boss to explain the situation. The conversation didn't go well. "Maya, you can't just disappear for a week," her supervisor said. "We have the Henderson account presentation on Friday and the quarterly reports are due next week." "I know, but my car is completely broken down and I'm stuck here until it's fixed," Maya explained. "Then rent a car and drive back, or fly. This is not acceptable." Maya felt the familiar stress of her job creeping back in. "I'll figure something out," she said, knowing there was no car rental place for 100 miles and the nearest airport was even farther. After she hung up, Cole found her sitting on his front porch, looking frustrated. "Work troubles?" he asked, settling into the chair beside her. Maya told him about the conversation with her boss. "I've been with this company for 5 years and I've never taken more than a long weekend off. You'd think they could manage without me for a few days." "Sounds like a stressful job," Cole observed. "It is," Maya admitted. "But it pays well and I'm good at it. It's just, sometimes I feel like I'm working all the time and not really living." Cole was quiet for a moment, looking out over his land, as the sun began to set. Rose used to say that work should be something that feeds your soul, not just your bank account. Maya thought about her grandmother, who had worked this land for decades, not because she had to, but because she loved it. Did she ever talk about being lonely out here? Sometimes, Cole said honestly. But she also talked about feeling connected to something bigger than herself. The land, the seasons, the community. She said city folks sometimes mistake being alone for being lonely. That night, Maya lay in the guest bed thinking about Cole's words. She had always been proud of her independence, but maybe there was a difference between being independent and being isolated. She thought about her life in Chicago, where she could go days without a meaningful conversation, where she ate most, meals alone, where her main relationships were with coworkers and clients. Here, in just 2 days, she had felt more connected to another person than she had in months. Cole didn't just talk to her, he listened. He paid attention to what she needed and cared about making sure she was comfortable. When was the last time someone had cooked her breakfast or worried about whether she was warm enough? The next morning, Cole had to take care of some business with his horses, and he invited Maya to come along. She had never been around. Maya's third day at Cole's ranch began with an emergency. She woke to the sound of him moving around in the early morning darkness, talking quietly on the phone. "I'll be right there," she heard him say. A few minutes later, there was a soft knock on her door. "Maya, I'm sorry to wake you, but I have a situation with one of my mares. She's having trouble giving birth and I need to get out to the barn. You can go back to sleep if you want." Maya sat up, instantly alert. "Is there anything I can do to help?" "You don't need to." "I want to help," she said, surprising herself with how quickly she answered. A week ago, she wouldn't have known how to help with anything outside of spreadsheets and financial reports. Cole hesitated. "It might be a long night and it's not going to be pretty." "I'm not as delicate as I look," Maya said, getting out of bed. "Give me 2 minutes to get dressed." They hurried through the pre-dawn darkness to the barn, where Cole's favorite mare, Stella, was clearly in distress. The horse was lying on her side, breathing heavily, and Maya could see the worry in Cole's eyes. "What's wrong?" she asked quietly. "The foal is positioned wrong," Cole explained, kneeling beside Stella and running his hands gently over her sides. "I've called the vet, but Dr. Martinez is dealing with another emergency across the county. He might not be here for a couple of hours." Maya watched as Cole spoke softly to Stella, his voice calm and reassuring even though she could see the tension in his shoulders. There was something beautiful about the way he cared for his animals, a gentleness that seemed to come naturally to him. "What can I do?" she asked. Cole showed her how to keep Stella calm, stroking the mare's neck and speaking in soothing tones while he monitored the situation. Maya had never been this close to a horse giving birth before, and despite the worry, she found it amazing to be part of something so natural and important. As the hours passed, Maya found herself working alongside Cole as if they had done this many times before. He would tell her what he needed, and she would anticipate his next request. When he needed clean towels, she was already getting them. When Stella needed water, Maya was there with a bucket. "You're a natural at this," Cole said during a quiet moment when Stella was resting between contractions. "I'm just following your lead," Maya replied, but she felt proud of his words. In her corporate job, she was used to being good at things, but this felt different. This felt real and meaningful in a way that analyzing financial reports never had. The vet finally arrived, just as the sun was coming up, and with his help they were able to safely deliver a healthy foal. Maya watched in wonder as the little horse struggled to its feet for the first time, all legs and determination. "It's a miracle every time," Dr. Martinez said, packing up his equipment. "You did good work here, Cole. And you too, miss. Not everyone has the stomach for this kind of thing." After the vet left, Maya and Cole sat outside the barn, exhausted but happy. Stella was nursing her new foal, and both mother and baby were doing well. "Thank you," Cole said, looking at Maya with something new in his eyes. "I couldn't have done that alone." "Yes, you could have," Maya said, "but I'm glad I was here to help." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. Maya realized this was the first time in years she had watched the sun come up, and definitely the first time she had done it after staying up all night for something other than work. "I called in sick today," she said suddenly. Cole looked surprised. "You did?" "I called my boss while you were talking to the vet. I told him I was sick and couldn't work." Maya laughed a little. "I've never called in sick when I wasn't actually sick before." "How does it feel?" Cole asked. Maya thought about it. Scary, but also kind of freeing. That afternoon, while Cole caught up on sleep, Maya decided to spend more time at her grandmother's ranch. She was starting to think of it less as a property to sell and more as a place that might hold some answers about who she was and who she might become. She found a journal in Rose's bedroom, filled with entries about daily life on the ranch. As she read, Maya got a picture of a woman who had faced challenges with determination and grace. Rose wrote about difficult seasons, sick animals, financial struggles, and the loneliness that sometimes came with rural life. But she also wrote about the satisfaction of hard work, the beauty of the changing seasons, and the deep connections she had formed with her neighbors and community. One entry, written just 2 years before Rose's death, caught Maya's attention. Cole stopped by today to check on me after the storm last week. That boy has such a good heart. He reminds me of his father, always willing to help without being asked. I worry sometimes that he's too isolated since losing Jenny. He works too hard and doesn't let people get close. I wish I could help him. See that opening your heart again doesn't mean forgetting what you've lost. Maya realized she had learned very little about Cole's past. She knew he had taken over the ranch from his father, but she didn't know about anyone named Jenny or what loss Rose was referring to. That evening, as they prepared dinner together, Maya found herself studying Cole more carefully. He was always kind and helpful, but she realized he kept parts of himself private. She understood that feeling well. Rose mentioned someone named Jenny in her journal. Maya said carefully, "I hope you don't mind that I read some of her entries." Cole's hand stilled as he was chopping vegetables. For a moment, Maya thought he wouldn't answer. "Jenny was my fiancée," he said finally. "She died in a car accident 3 years ago." "I'm so sorry," Maya said softly. Cole nodded, continuing with his chopping. "We were supposed to get married that spring. Had the whole thing planned, the dress bought, the church reserved. Then one rainy night, a drunk driver ran a red light." Maya's heart ached for him. That must have been devastating. "It was," Cole said simply. "For a long time I thought I was done with love, done with planning for the future. Jenny and I had talked about filling this house with kids, maybe expanding the ranch. After she died, I couldn't imagine sharing any of that with anyone else." They cooked the rest of dinner in thoughtful silence. Maya understood now why Cole lived alone, why he seemed to keep people at a certain distance even while being kind to them. She recognized the protective walls because she had built similar ones around her own heart, though for different reasons. After dinner, they sat on the front porch watching the stars come out. The night was warm and peaceful, with only the sounds of crickets and the distant lowing of cattle. "What about you?" Cole asked. "Rose's journal mentioned that you've never been married. Was there ever anyone serious?" Maya considered how much to tell him. "There was someone in college, David. We dated for 2 years and I thought we might get married someday. But when graduation came, he got a job offer in California and just left. He said long-distance relationships were too complicated. That must have hurt." "It did," Maya admitted. "But looking back, I think we were more like good friends than people in love. The thing that hurt the most was how easily he walked away. It made me realize that I had never been anyone's priority." Cole turned to look at her. "Is that why you live alone? Why you've never shared a bed with anyone?" Maya felt her cheeks warm, remembering their conversation from the first night. "Partly, but it's more than that. My parents had a terrible marriage. They fought constantly, and when they finally divorced when I was 12, it was almost a relief. I learned early that depending on someone else was dangerous. So you decided to depend only on yourself," Cole said. "It seemed safer," Maya said. "If you don't let people get too close, they can't hurt you." "That's true," Cole agreed. "But they can't help you either, and they can't love you." His words hung in the air between them. Maya felt something stirring in her chest, a longing she had spent years pushing down. "When Jenny died," Cole continued, "I thought the safest thing was to keep everyone at a distance. Rose tried to tell me that wasn't living, it was just existing, but I wasn't ready to hear it." "And now?" Maya asked quietly. Cole was quiet for a long moment. "Now I'm starting to think maybe she was right." The next morning brought news about Maya's car. Pete Morrison called to say that the parts he needed were on back order and wouldn't arrive for at least another week, maybe 2. "I have to go back to Chicago," Maya told Cole after she hung up the phone. "I can't miss any more work. I'll have to rent a car from the city and come back for mine later." But when she called the nearest car rental place, she discovered they were completely booked for the next several days due to a convention in the city. "You could fly," Cole suggested. though she could hear something in his voice that might have been disappointment. The airport is 3 hours away and flights to Chicago are expensive on short notice, Maya said, feeling frustrated and trapped. Cole was quiet for a moment. What if you stayed a little longer? You said yourself that you never take time off. Maybe this is the universe telling you to slow down. Maya looked at him, surprised by the suggestion. I can't just abandon my job. I'm not suggesting you abandon it, but maybe you could work from here for a few days. You have your laptop and I have internet. You could handle the urgent stuff and tell your boss you'll be back as soon as your car is fixed. Maya had been staying at Cole's ranch for almost 2 weeks when everything changed. She had settled into a routine that felt surprisingly natural, working on her laptop in the mornings while Cole took care of the horses, spending afternoons exploring her grandmother's property, and sharing quiet evenings talking on the front porch. Her boss had grudgingly accepted her remote work arrangement, especially since Maya was handling everything efficiently and meeting all her deadlines. But Maya knew this temporary situation couldn't last forever. Eventually, she would have to make a decision about her future. The night that changed everything started like any other. Maya had finished her work for the day and was helping Cole prepare dinner. They had developed an easy partnership in the kitchen, moving around each other comfortably as they cooked. I got a call from Pete today, Cole said as he stirred the pasta sauce. Your car parts finally came in. He should have it fixed by tomorrow afternoon. Maya felt her stomach drop. She had been expecting this news, but hearing it made the reality hit home. Tomorrow she would have to decide whether to drive back to Chicago in her old life or stay and figure out what this new life might look like. That's good news, she said, trying to keep her voice light. Cole glanced at her, and she could see he was studying her reaction. Is it? Before Maya could answer, the lights flickered. They both looked up as thunder rumbled in the distance. Looks like another storm coming in, Cole said, checking his phone for the weather forecast. This one's supposed to be worse than the first one. As if to prove his point, the wind picked up, rattling the windows. Maya remembered her first night here, how scared she had been of the storm and the unfamiliar darkness. Now she found the approaching weather more exciting than frightening. They ate dinner while watching the storm build through the kitchen window. The sky grew darker and darker, and lightning began flashing more frequently. I should probably go, check on the horses, Cole said after they finished eating. Make sure they're secure for the night. I'll come with you, Maya said automatically. Cole started to protest. You don't need to. I want to help, Maya said firmly. Over the past 2 weeks, she had learned a lot about caring for horses, and she genuinely enjoyed working with them. They hurried to the barn as the first fat raindrops began to fall. Cole's horses were already agitated by the approaching storm, nickering nervously and pacing in their stalls. Maya helped him check that all the stall doors were latched securely and that the horses had plenty of water. They can sense the electrical activity in the air, Cole explained as he calmed a particularly nervous gelding. Some horses handle storms better than others. Maya was checking on Luna, the gentle mare she had grown especially fond of, when the power went out. The barn was plunged into darkness so complete that Maya couldn't see her hand in front of her face. Cole? She called out, trying to keep the panic out of her voice. I'm here, he said, and she heard him moving toward her. There's a flashlight, hanging by the door. A moment later, a beam of light cut through the darkness. Cole appeared beside her, and Maya realized she was gripping Luna's stall door so tightly her knuckles were white. Are you okay? He asked, noticing her death grip on the wooden rail. I'm fine, Maya said quickly, but she wasn't. The complete darkness had triggered a fear she hadn't expected. In the city, there was always some light. Street lamps, neon signs, the glow from other buildings. She had never experienced darkness this absolute. Cole seemed to sense her discomfort. Let's head back to the house. I have a generator so we can get some lights on. But as they left the barn, the storm hit with full force. The rain came down in sheets, and the wind was so strong it nearly knocked Maya off her feet. Lightning lit up the sky almost continuously, followed by thunder so loud it seemed to shake the ground. We need to run for it, Cole shouted over the noise of the storm. They ran across the yard, but halfway to the house, Maya stumbled on something and the darkness and fell hard. Cole was beside her instantly, helping her up. "Are you hurt?" he asked, his hands gentle as he checked her over. "I think I twisted my ankle," Maya said, trying to put weight on her foot and wincing. Without hesitation, Cole swept her up in his arms and carried her the rest of the way to the house. Maya wrapped her arms around his neck, amazed by how safe she felt despite the chaos of the storm around them. Inside, Cole set her down carefully on the couch and went to start the generator. A few minutes later, blessed light filled the house, though they could still hear the storm raging outside. "Let me look at that ankle," Cole said, kneeling beside the couch. As he gently examined her foot, Maya found herself studying his face in the lamplight. His hands were careful and sure as he checked for injury, and she could see genuine concern in his eyes. "It's not broken," he said finally. "Just twisted. You should stay off it tonight." "I'm sorry for being such a baby about the darkness," Maya said, feeling embarrassed about her reaction. Cole looked up at her in surprise. "You weren't being a baby. That was real fear, and fear is nothing to be ashamed of." A particularly loud crack of thunder made Maya jump, and Cole moved to sit beside her on the couch. "What is it about the dark that scares you?" he asked gently. Maya had never told anyone about this fear before. It seemed silly for a grown woman to be afraid of the dark, but something about Cole's understanding manner made her want to open up. "When I was little, my parents used to fight at night," she said quietly. "Really bad fights with screaming and sometimes things being thrown. I used to hide in my closet with the door closed, trying to block out the noise. I was always afraid that if I couldn't see what was happening, something terrible might happen and I wouldn't be able to help or protect myself." Cole's expression grew tender. "That must have been terrifying for a child." "It was," Maya admitted. "I know it's irrational now, but sometimes when it gets really dark, I still feel like that scared little girl hiding in the closet." Without a word, Cole wrapped his arm around her shoulders and pulled her closer to him. Maya tensed for a moment. Physical comfort wasn't something she was used to, but then she relaxed against his warmth. They sat like that for a while, listening to the storm and the steady sound of each other's breathing. Maya couldn't remember the last time someone had held her like this just for comfort, without expecting anything in return. "I've never told anyone about that before," she said softly. "Thank you for trusting me with it," Cole replied, his voice warm against her hair. As the night wore on, the storm seemed to get worse instead of better. The wind howled around the house and Maya could hear branches hitting the roof. Even with Cole's arm around her and the lights on, she found herself tensing every time the thunder crashed. "This is a bad one," Cole said, checking his phone for weather updates. "Looks like it's going to last most of the night." Maya felt a spike of anxiety. The thought of lying in bed alone, listening to the storm rage outside, made her stomach clench with fear. "I don't think I can sleep tonight," she admitted. "Not with the storm like this." Cole looked at her thoughtfully. "Would it help if you weren't alone?" Maya's breath caught. "What do you mean?" "I mean, if you want, you could stay in my room tonight." "Not for anything like that," he added quickly, his cheeks reddening slightly. "Just so you wouldn't have to be alone with the storm." Maya's heart started beating faster. The offer was both exactly what she needed and exactly what terrified her most. She had never shared a bed with anyone, never allowed herself to be that vulnerable with another person. She started, then stopped. "I've never." "I know," Cole said gently. "You told me that first night. But sometimes being alone isn't the safest thing, especially when you're scared." Another massive crash of thunder made the house shake, and Maya made her decision. "Okay," she whispered. "But I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to share space with someone." Cole smiled, and it was the gentlest expression she had ever seen. "Neither do I, really. It's been a long time since I shared my bed with anyone, but maybe we can figure it out together." He helped her to his bedroom, supporting her weight so she didn't have to put pressure on her twisted ankle. The room was larger than the guest room, with a big, comfortable bed and windows that looked out over the pastures. You can have whichever side you want, Cole said, suddenly seeming as nervous as Maya felt. I don't have a preference, Maya said honestly. I've always slept alone. Cole gave her one of his soft t-shirts to sleep in and stepped out of the room while she changed. When he came back wearing pajama pants and a tank top, Maya was sitting on the edge of the bed looking uncertain. We don't have to do this if you're not comfortable, he said, stopping in the doorway. No, I want to, Maya said quickly. I'm just nervous. Cole approached the bed slowly as if he were approaching a skittish horse. We'll just sleep, he said. Nothing else. Just two people keeping each other company during a storm. They settled into the bed on opposite sides with plenty of space between them. Maya lay rigidly on her back, hyper-aware of Cole's presence just a few feet away. She could hear his breathing, feel the slight movement of the mattress when he shifted position. Maya. Cole's voice was soft in the darkness. Yes? Are you okay? 6 months later, Maya stood in the kitchen of her grandmother's farmhouse, watching the sunrise paint the Texas sky in shades of gold and pink. The house looked completely different now than it had the day she first walked through its doors. The walls had been painted, the floors refinished, and every room filled with a mixture of Rose's treasured belongings and Maya's own touches. But the biggest change wasn't in the house itself. It was in Maya. She no longer wore the sharp business suits and high heels that had been her uniform in Chicago. Instead, she was dressed in jeans and boots, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, ready for another day of work on the ranch. Her hands, once soft from office work, now bore the calluses of someone who worked with horses and fixed fences and planted gardens. The coffee maker gurgled to life, and Maya smiled as she heard Cole's truck pulling into the driveway. Even after all these months of seeing him nearly every day, her heart still skipped a little when she heard that familiar sound. Morning, beautiful, Cole said as he came through the back door, pulling off his hat and hanging it on the hook by the door. This had become their routine. He would come over early to share coffee and breakfast before they started their day's work. Morning yourself, Maya said, standing on her toes to kiss him. That was still new enough to make her feel giddy. The simple intimacy of greeting someone with a kiss, of having someone to say good morning to every day. How's Luna doing? She asked, as Cole poured himself coffee. Maya had bought Luna and 2 other horses from Cole a month ago, officially starting her own small herd. She's perfect, Cole said, settling at the kitchen table that now felt as much his as hers. You've got a real gift with horses, you know that? Maya still felt a flush of pride when he said things like that. 6 months ago, she wouldn't have believed she could learn to care for horses, much less be good at it. But with Cole's patient teaching and her grandmother's books to guide her, she had discovered a talent she never knew she had. I've been thinking, Maya said, sitting across from him with her own coffee, about expanding the stable, maybe starting a small boarding business. Cole's eyes lit up. That's a great idea. There are a lot of horse owners in the area who don't have enough land for proper pasture. You've got the space and the facilities. Maya nodded, feeling excited about the possibility. I talked to Dr. Martinez about it yesterday when he was here checking on Luna. He said he'd be happy to refer clients to me. It still amazed Maya how easily she had found her place in the rural community. The same independence that had isolated her in Chicago had become an asset here, where self-reliance was valued and neighbors looked out for each other without crowding each other's space. There's something else I want to talk to you about, Maya said, suddenly feeling nervous. Cole looked at her curiously. What's that? Maya took a deep breath. Over the past 6 months, she and Cole had grown closer in ways she had never imagined possible. They spent most of their free time together, shared meals, worked side by side, and talked about everything from their past fears to their future dreams. But they had taken things slowly, both of them learning how to trust again. I've been thinking about us, Maya said, about what we're building together. Cole set down his coffee cup and gave her his full attention. Go on. When I first came here, I was so scared of letting anyone get close to me. I thought sharing my life with someone meant giving up who I was. Maya paused, trying to find the right words. But being with you has taught me that the opposite is true. Sharing my life with you has made me more myself than I've ever been. Cole reached across the table and took her hand. I feel the same way. I know we said we'd take things slowly, Maya continued. And I'm grateful for that. But I don't want to take things slowly anymore. I want to share everything with you. My house, my dreams, my bed, my life. Cole's smile was so bright it could have powered the whole ranch. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything, Maya said honestly. I love you, Cole, and I want to build a real life together. Cole stood up and pulled her into his arms, kissing her with a passion that made her knees weak. I love you too, he said against her lips. I have for months. That evening they drove into town together to have dinner at the local diner. Maya had become a regular there, and the waitresses always asked about her latest projects on the ranch. It was the kind of community connection she had never experienced in Chicago, where she could live in the same building as people for years without knowing their names. Maya. Cole, called out Mrs. Patterson, the elderly woman who ran the bed, and breakfast. How are the renovations coming along? Almost finished, Maya said, stopping to chat. She had learned that in small towns these conversations weren't just politeness, they were how the community stayed connected. After dinner, they walked through the town square, hand in hand. The evening was warm and peaceful, with fireflies, beginning to blink in the gathering dusk. I never imagined I could be this happy, Maya said as they sat on a bench overlooking the small park. Even when you miss the city? Cole asked. Maya considered the question. I do miss some things about Chicago, the museums, the restaurants, the energy of a big city. But I don't miss the loneliness. I don't miss feeling like I was just going through the motions of living instead of actually living. Cole nodded. I understand. After Jenny died, I went through the motions for a long time. I took care of the ranch, I paid my bills, I went to church on Sundays. But I wasn't really alive until you showed up in that storm. Do you think she would have liked me? Maya asked. She had wondered about Jenny often, but had never asked. She would have loved you, Cole said without hesitation. Jenny always said that the right person would be someone who challenged me to grow, someone who brought out the best in me. That's exactly what you've done. When they got back to Maya's house, they sat on the front porch, something that had become their nightly ritual. Maya loved this time of day when the work was done and they could just be together, talking or sitting in comfortable silence. I have something for you, Cole said, reaching into his pocket. Maya's heart started beating faster as he pulled out a small velvet box. Cole? I know this might seem fast, he said, sliding off the porch swing to kneel in front of her. But I also know that when you find the right person, you don't want to waste time. Maya, you've changed everything about my life. You've taught me that it's possible to love again, to trust again, to build something beautiful with someone else. Maya's eyes filled with tears as he opened the box to reveal a simple, elegant diamond ring. I want to share everything with you, Cole continued. My name, my house, my dreams, my future. Will you marry me? Yes, Maya whispered, then louder. Yes, of course, yes. Cole slipped the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly. Maya threw her arms around his neck, and they held each other tightly as the stars came out overhead. I can't believe this is my life, Maya said, looking at the ring sparkling on her finger. Believe it, Cole said, kissing her forehead. This is just the beginning. 1 year later, Maya stood in the same kitchen where she had made the decision to stay, but now it truly felt like home. The boarding business had taken off beyond her wildest dreams, and she had 6 horses in her care. She had also started teaching riding lessons to local children, something that brought her joy she had never expected. Cole had moved in 3 months after their engagement, and they had combined their properties to create one of the most successful horse operations in the county. Maya had discovered that she had inherited not just her grandmother's land, but also her grandmother's gift for understanding horses. You ready for this? Cole asked, straightening his tie in the hallway mirror. Today was their wedding day. They had decided to have the ceremony right here on the ranch, in the same meadow where Maya had first learned to ride. The whole community would be there, along with Maya's mother, who had finally come to Texas to meet the daughter-in-law she had never expected. Maya's mother had been shocked when Maya called to tell her about the engagement. "You're getting married to a cowboy in Texas? What about your career?" But when she arrived for the wedding and saw how happy Maya was, how naturally she moved through this life she had built, Maya's mother had begun to understand. "I've never seen you like this," she had said the night before. "You look complete." Now, as Maya looked at herself in her grandmother's mirror, wearing her grandmother's pearl necklace with her wedding dress, she felt Rose's presence in the room. "I hope I'm making you proud, Grandma," she whispered to the reflection. The ceremony was everything Maya had dreamed of. Cole looked handsome in his dark suit, and his eyes never left her face as she walked down the aisle between the wildflowers. Dr. Martinez officiated, and Luna and the other horses watched from the nearby pasture, as if they knew this was a special day. When it came time for vows, Maya spoke from her heart. "Cole, 6 months ago, I was a woman who was afraid to share her space, her heart, or her life with anyone. You taught me that love doesn't mean losing yourself. It means finding the best version of yourself. You showed me that home isn't a place, it's the person you choose to share your life with. I promise to love you, to trust you, and to build this beautiful life with you, one day at a time."